The first time I ever went to a psych hospital, it's a designated hospital for mental illness, people suffering from crisis. The first time I ever had to go to a place like that, it was on the first night, I believe. We watched The Matrix. And I've seen that movie before. It just happened to be on like regular television. It happened in 2010 when I went. So that's, 10, 11 years after the movie came out. So I've seen it several times. But in this scenario, it was a different feeling. Every patient that was not passed out in their bed that I'm aware of was heavily interested in it, in that film, watching it. In the state of mind that I was in, I felt like that movie was about me. The one. I am the one. This is allegory of my life, because I'm waking up from the Matrix right now. I think a lot of us felt that way while we were watching it. I got there early. My family had to take me to like a crisis center, which is similar to a mental hospital, but they couldn't get me into to stay there. So I waited there until they had a way to get me to the other mental hospital that I went to. And I got there like at 5 in the morning or something like that. So I tried to sleep, but I was on a manic phase that was giving me the most energy that I could imagine. And I think a lot of factors contributed to the mental breakdown that I had that led me to that. It was a lot of things. And I was in a bad situation in my life, working multiple jobs, trying to go to trade school, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, all of it. Trying to do too much. The use of marijuana itself, I think that was one of the triggering things. Not being high on it, but the balance of your mental brain chemistry after you've stopped. There is a withdrawal period if you're become like a daily user of marijuana products, THC, that after you stop, it can become very, mentally unstable in your head. Besides the main physical things you may experience, such as insomnia, loss of appetite, there's this existentialness there, and I think that was part of it, the withdrawal from that, as well as every other thing that was contributing to that happening. I at one point thought I might have been the return of Jesus himself, or one of the last prophets in the Revelations or something like that, one of the two witnesses, that type of stuff. I was in my head with all these things, and I was doing some very strange things too in my beliefs. Like every weird thought that I had was like, that's a true thought. Or like every movie, like The Matrix we watched, was real. It was something true there. And I was in also some sort of weird state of interpreting everything as some sort of parable. And, if someone tried to ask me a favor, like, could you help me move a table? I would think, what does that mean? What is the deeper meaning and the philosophy and the spiritual meaning of that? No, it's just, hey, man, it's a big thing. I need help. What? I was trying to like explain everything in some sort of spiritual parable way and understanding of things. And it was very strange. My head was in a weird spot. And then I don't know if what is it? Why do we put all the people who have suffering mentally together? It seems like a bad idea, but I guess it's what we got to do. If you're suffering in mental illness so badly that you can't function in society, they got to put you in with all the other people in the same building, and have people who are paid barely anything to make sure you don't hurt yourself or other people. And watch What is the guy thinking that let us watch The Matrix and thought that was a good idea for mental patients to sit there and watch The Matrix? I guess he probably didn't give a crap because we were all like glued to the television set, like, wow, we're all mesmerized by The Matrix. And I was thinking in some strange thoughts about my own beliefs and abilities and who I was, and my identity, and I don't know. It was a crazy time. And then I realized some of these people are way more messed up than me. But then I was like, wait a minute, I don't know. I'm all over the place in my own head. I don't know what's going on. At one point, I thought that everybody was going to turn into animals, or no, that's not true. That's going to happen. We're on an alien ship right now, and we're being transported through space to a new planet. That's what's going on. That's what the real truth is. I kept trying to. I wanted to know everything and all the answers to the secrets of the universe, and I just try to grab onto any explanation of anything that just anything, no matter how crazy it was. That's what the truth was at the moment. So they got me on medication and all this stuff, and it was not an easy road. That was the start of a 7-year period of off and on again mental breakdowns and depression and manic phases. That is strange to me that it lasted 7 years back and forth and struggling with it. It was never as bad as the first time, but it took 7 years to really get fully through it. And I've always thought, since that period has ended, that it was similar to King Nebuchadnezzar in the Old Testament Bible, who thought his ego got so big that God cursed him to be like an animal of the field and live like a beast, or whatever happened to him. Like he was a crazy person, thought he was a cow or something like that. And it was for 7 years. And then he came back and it was like, I was so wrong for thinking that I was basically better than God or something. I had a similar road in my own way, I suppose. But the night that we watched The Matrix, like, I don't know what other patients were doing, but I was hyped, man. I think I took the hat of the guy next to me in the bed and I put it on, and I thought, now the nurse attendees will think that I am that guy because I have his hat on. And I walked out, and I was thinking I'd get into some weird mischief. I didn't. I just went to the water fountain. I'm like, I need a drink. And I had the hat on, and then I went back. I don't know what I was thinking. But who knows what. I feel like that guy was taking advantage of the situation to put the Matrix on. I even made a sketch about it on my other channel, like a comedy sketch of watching The Matrix while being in a mental patient hospital. We are all like glued, and it was amazing. So let's say The Matrix, the first time I saw it was pretty awesome, but the time I saw it in the psych ward, that was probably the best experience. And you know what sucked? That the lights out, or bedtime cutoff, came right after Neo was killed and before he came back to life. Like we got to see him die, but we didn't get to see him come back to life. And that's when we had to cut it off. It was lights out time, go to bed. The end. And there was also, I was so far removed, like I was saying, where I was trying to interpret everything in some sort of parable interpretation of everything, that I don't know if I felt like at certain points I was not even speaking normally anymore. I was speaking in some sort of symbolic sign language that I understood what I was trying to say, but it came out different, and that they heard it differently. So it was almost like I had a different language of communication in my own mind. I was misinterpreting things, what people say, And I think I was not saying truly the words that I meant to say. I was using some sort of parable, I don't know, signal language or something. I don't know what it was. I was deep in my head. So pretty much after that, that's when everything kind of was snowballed into downhill. The next times I had to go to the hospitals was for different reasons, and I started to actually like going there as a way to decompress my mind and get away from things that I had no control over myself to get away from, like a rehab from society, from the smartphone and the drugs and the alcohol and whatever it is that's messing with my head. I think a lot of people don't even understand how much, like, you could look at marijuana and say, yeah, well, of course, or drugs of alcohol. And you say, well, of course, you were overdoing that. And then you had a mental breakdown. Yeah, but there was other things going on. There was more to it than that. The things that you engage with in your mind, that's not a substance that you put in your body. Those things can wreck your mental state as well. That's why I'm trying to stay away from the news. And I knew that before. But something always happens big and it gets me sucked back into it. Like, I got to pay attention. I got to know what's happening. But why? And could you ever really know the real truth of what's happening? You can only know so much. And this is the official narrative based on the information that is allowed to come out. And unless you go into it yourself and research and listen to all the perspectives and do all this stuff, and why do you need to know? That's a whole mental breakdown. I think a lot of the things that happening in the world today, people are influenced by online social media and the news feed to make them think crazy stuff and want to do crazy things. All right, thanks for watching.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him.
Manic Matt
was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?